Well, of course, there's growing pressure for the ANC to deal with the allegations of corruption by the Gupta family following Jonas's confession. Breaking her silence this morning, ANC veteran Barbara Hogan, who was also directly impacted by the Gupta's influence during her tenure as Public Enterprises Minister. She joins us on the line now to talk about her experience. Firstly, Ms. Hogan, let's perhaps begin with the initial reaction that you had when you heard about what Fakey Mento had to say about having been offered your job.
Well, I was not surprised. One was aware of, all the time that things were happening. I had no knowledge of what was offered to Fakey or anything. But as I've said before, with the Jet Airways, I can confirm that I too was put under enormous pressure to meet with Jet Airways around the route to South Africa. So, I can confirm that part I know to be true.
You say that you were put under immense pressure. Who put you under this pressure?
I was on a visit to India, an official visit with the presidential delegation. And my staff were inundated with demands that I meet with Jet Airways, and they tried to even intercept me physically to stop me from leaving a room. The Jet Airways CEO.
But so were the demands coming exactly from the people who run Jet Airlines, or was it coming from other factors, other individuals within the Public Enterprises Ministry?
No, it wasn't coming from within the Public Enterprises Ministry. Look, it was messages that were being conveyed to me by my staff. So I presume it was coming from Jet Airways.
So at the time, you weren't exactly to pinpoint where exactly the pressure was coming from. You were just, basically your staff were the messengers in this case.
Yes.
Did you ever inquire about where they were getting the pressure from?
No, you're on an official visit. Lots of people want to see you, lots of matters to deal with. There's a persistent pressure that you must meet with them because they want to discuss the route to, between South Africa and SAA, and I say, well, that's got nothing to do with me. That's a commercial decision at SAA, so there's no reason for me to meet with them. That was, I had other stuff to deal with.
So during your tenure as Public Enterprises Minister, did you ever meet officially with the Gupta family?
I never met during my tenure with the Gupta family. I never went to the compound. Many, many years ago, it must have been about 15 years ago, we were once invited to it was during the December holidays, to someone's house, my partner and I, to someone's house in Cape Town, and to discover it was a Gupta family, but that was in about 2002 or so.
When you were Public Enterprises Minister, Barbara, did President Jacob Zuma interfere with the running of state-owned enterprises?
Yes, he did.
How?
Particularly around the appointment of people to positions. He stopped me from appointing people. He was insisting certain people be appointed who were subject to disciplinary procedures. At one stage, he gave an absolute order for a disciplinary process to be stopped.
Let's perhaps name some of these individuals, Barbara. Who are we talking about here? Who did the president insist must be put in place to head up a state-owned enterprise, despite whatever disciplinary hearings they may have been facing, or even despite the better advice that you may have offered at the time?
I don't want to go into mudslinging and talking about this. It was very clear during that period who I was dealing with, and it was over a 2-year period. It was all in the public domain. I think we really need to look at what we need to do going forward. Clearly, the ANC has a moral duty now and a political duty to deal with this issue because the scale of the rot is now enormous. It's all being laid bare. I think, too, that the hawks and the matters that are happening with the NPA and with SARS also has to be dealt with decisively. I also think that it's not just ministers who've been put under pressure, it's also DGs and civil servants. And I think protections now have to be guaranteed to anyone who resists pressures from whatever business quarter, that they will be able to publicly to disclose this to the ANC and receive the protections that they need.
Barbara, in terms of your own job, did your job come with several strings attached to it? Were there conditions that weren't outlined in your official job description?
No. I was appointed, you will recall, when President Mbeki was recalled. President Mohlahlana appointed me to be the Minister of Health. It was a period during the AIDS crisis. And then when his term ended a couple of months later, I was appointed by the President to be Minister of Public Enterprises, and there was no strings attached whatsoever.
When we look at some of the things that you've said this morning, Barbara, I mean, do you think that there would be enough evidence to compile a concrete legal case against the president, especially given the extent to which interference here seems to have taken place?
I am not a legal person, so it's very difficult for me to say. But what I would say is that I think our best legal minds need to be paying attention to what is going on, not only in terms of the president, but what is going on in other parts. The Gupta family itself, our legal minds need to be applying themselves to those issues. It really is a complete betrayal, of everything the state wants to achieve when this kind of sordid, self-interested people seize control over aspects of the state with no compunction whatsoever.
And why did you decide to speak about it now? Why did you not do this when you were experiencing it at the time that it happened?
Because the politics at that stage, Zuma was at his prime. He was fully enjoying everyone around him. It was in those years. It was very clear in the battles that I was fighting in the open domain about how much I was under siege. And quite frankly, no one would have listened to me.
Do you feel that the political dynamics have changed now?
Yes. I think there's a clear understanding of how serious this rot is.
And how much further do you think that there are other people who perhaps are still cabinet ministers as we speak, who would confirm similar allegations to what you have said? I mean, how widespread is this problem within the ANC, but most importantly, among those that they've deployed to cabinet?
I wouldn't know. It's not for me to know. There was always whispers and stuff. But I do think, what I'm trying to say is we now have an accumulation of evidence from Waterkloof through to now that shows the extent, that reveals to all the extent of the rot. I wouldn't spend my time doing witch hunts after who did what and where. I would spend my time focusing on how you're going to get rid of the rot.
All right, Barbara Hogan, that's where we're going to leave it for this morning, ANC veteran. And of course, she's speaking out against some of the things that she's been watching unfold in the ANC, and also confirming the pressure that she felt when she was Public Enterprises Minister to enter into several deals, but not exactly being aware of who the hand at play behind the scenes was, but certainly confirming that there was pressure for her to enter into several deals. Some of them including businesses that are linked to the Gupta family, and also confirming there on the record that President Jacob Zuma interfered in the appointment of the heads of the state-owned enterprises, and even issued orders around who exactly should be appointed. We're going to continue bringing you more reaction to the story throughout our bulletins this morning. Earlier, we spoke to ANC veteran Professor Ben Turok, who says former President Cathy Mohlahlana needs to stand up against the rot within the party.